she was supposed to be at the building. My mom should have been at the Pentagon. She didn't make it that day because she stopped by her boss's office to check on him and to get him before going to a meeting. We all do that. She asked him if he was coming. He said, "Hold on a second, I've got a phone call from my sister. Something's going on." She waited a few more minutes. He said, something's wrong. A plane has apparently hit the World Trade Center.
Well, the day started for me on 9/11, and I woke up and it was a beautiful day, and I had a one-year-old daughter who I hadn't had a chance to spend much time with, and I decided to take the morning off.
9/11 started like any other day. I actually was working a late shift that day, and I got a call stating that the Trade Center had been hit.
Well, on the morning of September 11th, I was working for Verizon. I was a splicing foreman in Comac, New York, and driving around, doing my normal duties, checking up on my guys in the field, when I got a phone call from one of my friends saying that a plane had hit the World Trade Center.
I heard a loud boom behind me, followed by a reverberation of the window. I turned to see the World Trade Center, about 10 floors of it on fire.
So I actually turned on the TV to see what was going on, and the minute I turned on the TV, the second plane hit the tower, and at that point I knew immediately that it was an act of terrorism.
We ran down the 11 stories, out the door, onto the street. There were people everywhere. There was a lot of chaos and confusion. I walked about a block west of the office where I can get a better view of the World Trade Center so I can see exactly what was happening. I don't think anybody could have imagined at that moment that the towers would actually come down.
So on 9/11, I was in law school. I had an early morning class. I finished my class, went to the library and was studying when some classmates of mine walked up and told me a bomb had gone off at the Pentagon. You know, the wedge that ultimately was hit by the plane, that wedge was her office space. It was lots of people's office space, but that was my mom's office space.
Obviously, the adrenaline started flowing in my body. You don't know what to do at the time. You have to compose yourself. We got the call from our commander to get ready, pack gear bags. We might not be home for several days.
And so we went back to my apartment and we waited. We waited and we waited and we waited for the phone to ring. And the phone rang, but it wasn't my mom. It wasn't my mom for about 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours later, my mom finally calls me because she had to walk from the parking lot of the Pentagon, because she made it that far, across a lot of major thoroughfares, back to Crystal City to her office. She made it back to her office, and the first thing she did was she called me.
After working a couple hours helping out on that pile of rubble, just looking for people, escorting people to ambulances, all the agents in my group found ourselves with walking funny, and our souls had melted a little bit from the heat of that pile. And agents had to replace their boots on a recurring basis, those who work there on a day-to-day basis.
There's a lot of things racing through your mind. How could this be? How did this happen? And hopefully there was something that we could do that would save lives.
There was certainly that feeling that life as we knew it would never be the same again. Immediately after 9/11, and certainly on that day as well, I was overwhelmed with the feeling that, I had to do something to help, had to do something to make a difference.
After that day, I knew I had to make a change, and I wanted to make a change the best I could and come to law enforcement. To do the most good I could, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement was hiring, so I put in for that job, and in August of 2005, I started with ICE.
what working for the government meant to me before 9/11 and after 9/11 were two entirely different things.
I believe that 9/11 is very important to the United States, and it's important to ICE because our job is to protect the people.
Working for ICE is a tremendous source of pride for me. Immigration and Customs Enforcement was born out of the events of 9/11, and it was stood up specifically to address the threats that face our homeland.
And that's our job, to go into harm's way when everyone is evacuated.
It shows how important that the job and the mission is for ICE to keep the homeland safe. And the bottom line is that we must protect the people of the country, and then at the end of the day, we all must go home to our families.
My job now, I love. I wake up every morning between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't hit the snooze. I mean, I'm making a change. We're out there arresting bad guys and making the community safe, and that's the best I could ask for.
There have been hard times, certainly through my career, but what carries me through is knowing that what I do makes a difference and makes a very big difference.
The mission of the department and of the agency is unparalleled. The ability to provide the nation with all of the tools it needs to protect the country. What would I say to the folks at DHS or the folks at ICE? I would say thank you, right? I come from a place where I know this work is hard and it can be trying, but the benefit that we bring to this country in an effort to prevent what almost happened to me that day, never again, never again. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Mm-mm.